Okay, I'm ready. National Weather Service has been out surveying some of that damage, and even though we knew because of radar confirmation on some of these storms that they were actually tornadoes, the Weather Service survey teams went up to investigate that damage so that they could classify it and show what category that it was. And from the new information that we're getting today from that survey, there were actually two Gordon County tornadoes. All right, one of those, this was at about 11:42 on Tuesday night. It was an EF0 with winds of about 85 miles an hour. It had about a 4 3/4 mile path, and that was from this right here. So there's Calhoun. This was south and east of Calhoun, near the Sonoraville area. This started right around Plainview Road, then moved on up to near the Shope Lake Road area, and then moved on up to around Folsom Road, and then that's where it lifted. And these triangles here show where we had some damage, and more of that was right here between Shope Lake Road and also Folsom Road southeast. So that was one tornado, but then from the damage from the surveyors there and the National Weather Service meteorologists, they also determined a second tornado. This was up around the Farmville area. This one also around Plainview Road, moving over Irwin Road southeast and then lifting just to the north of Irwin Hill Church Road. And this one was a shorter path, about 2.39 miles, but it was an EF0 with winds of about 75 miles an hour. So all of that was generally just to the south of the Farmville area. So from that, we were saying earlier, an EF0 in Gordon County, but now with this official report coming in, they're showing us that there were two actual tracks there in parts of Gordon County. There was also another confirmation in Cherokee County. This one was north and east of Canton. So here you see Canton right here. This is where that tornado was located. It is also rated as an EF0 with winds of about 75 miles an hour. The path with this one, the damage path, was just a little bit more than 2 miles. That was near the Waleska area and just south of the main part of Waleska. It was moving here to the south of Waleska and just south of Ballfield Road and not too far off from the Land Ridge Road area. That's also to the west of the Burton area and south of Pleasant Arbor Road. So these are the areas where we did have confirmations of tornadoes there, and we have not heard of any additional plans from the National Weather Service to survey any other damage, but if we do hear about that, we will definitely let you know about it and whether or not there are any other confirmations of any tornadoes out there. Now, the other thing that was big news today, well, that was that NOAA issued their preseason hurricane outlook. Take a look at this full screen here so you can see what we're talking about. They are predicting an above average season for the hurricane season this year. Now take a look at those numbers. Earlier we were telling you about some preseason forecasts that came from Colorado State University. That was weeks ago. But NOAA usually waits till right before the season starts before they issue their predictions or their forecast for what they think is going to happen for the hurricane season. And as I mentioned, they are going with just a little bit slightly above average or above normal there for hurricane and named storm activity. So the average number of storms per year usually is about 14 named storms. Now remember, this is the average from 1991 to 2020. This is a rolling average for the past 30 years. Now if you went back 50, 60 years ago, the average number would be much lower. We've been seeing these numbers coming up a little bit more every year, and that impacts our average. So this is a rolling 30-year average, saying that we would normally get about 14 named storms. But this year, NOAA is predicting between 13 and 19 named storms. And then from those, now that would include a named storm would be tropical storms and hurricanes. It gets a name as a tropical storm and then keeps that name as it becomes a hurricane. Now, if you were interested in the number of hurricanes, from that number 14 named storms, they think that 7 of those would be, on average, would be hurricanes, but they're forecasting 6 to 10 for this year that could be hurricane strength. And then from those, when you're talking about major hurricanes, that would be Category 3 hurricanes or higher. On average, we would have about 3 major hurricanes. They're predicting between 3 and 5. Now, here's the deal with these forecasts. This is just giving us general numbers of what is expected this year. It doesn't mean that every one of these is going to make landfall in the United States, either on the Atlantic coastline or in the Gulf of Mexico. Some of these could be fish storms that start off the coast of Africa and then just turn away from the United States. So this doesn't mean that many are actually going to make landfall here in the United States. Some of them make landfall in the islands and then curve away. Some of them go into Mexico. There at the Yucatan Peninsula, we've seen many hit there, or even into parts of Central America. So this is just with the numbers that we're watching. This also doesn't tell us when they will occur, but we can look at averages of the season to talk about which part of the year is more active for hurricane and tropical storm activity. The season begins on June 1st. You see that right here. Sometimes we get some activity before that in May. So far, we haven't had that this year. And then as we go through the season, the activity usually starts ramping up once we get into, mid-July, beginning of August, and then peaking on September 10th. That would be the peak of hurricane season. Still active through a big part of September. Once we get to October, it starts settling down a little bit more, then settling down more in November, and then the season ends at the end of November on November 30th. So just be aware. I want you guys, a lot of times people think we're in Atlanta. Why do we care about hurricane season? Well, I'll just mention one name to you, Helene. That is why we care about hurricane season. Even though we don't live on the coast, we often can get the remnants or impacts from a landfalling hurricane or even a landfalling tropical storm or even a landfalling tropical depression. Sometimes we could get the impacts here, and we experienced that with Helene, with all the rain and flooding that we had here in the metro area when Helene brought in a lot of rain on top of rain that already fell a couple of days ahead of that. And then, of course, that storm caused more damage over in East Georgia, over toward Augusta, and of course, you know about all the damage up in western North Carolina as well. So, yes, we have to take hurricane season very seriously. Right now, we're in a quiet pattern out there. We have no rain in our area. We're going to see a couple of more clouds that will start building in a little bit more through the nighttime hours tonight and toward tomorrow morning. That all is way ahead of just a little disturbance over the Mississippi River. Not looking that impressive there right now. Also, though, watching this back in parts of Oklahoma and Texas, where we do have the potential for severe storms tonight, where there is north and west of Dallas, a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. And within that line there are some severe thunderstorm warnings too. This system we think is going to fall apart before it makes it into our area, but we will be watching a few additional clouds that could push in well ahead of that there overnight tonight and into tomorrow. There's a level 2 of 5 risk in Dallas and parts of central Texas here, but watch how the energy and the ingredients go up to the north tomorrow, not really pushing anywhere close to us though during the day on Friday. And then on Saturday, I don't want you to get alarmed when you see this, but the Storm Prediction Center right now is putting in a level 1 risk for Saturday. Now this would really be overnight Saturday into early Sunday, where there's a low risk for a couple of isolated stronger storms in parts of west and central Georgia, but some of that is close to just to the west of the metro area here. But I'm going to be interested to see if they're going to keep this or refine this back into parts of Alabama. Again, this would be for, I know this says Saturday, but these maps go from through the daytime hours up till about 7 o'clock the next morning. So this would really be for any activity that we have coming in overnight Saturday into early on Sunday morning. And I'll show you that on the timeline and the forecast track coming up in just a few minutes. It got warm today. Highs got up to 85 degrees. The average for this time of year is 83, so we were a couple of degrees above the average. This morning, we were down to 62, and there were some of you in the outlying areas that woke up to temperatures in the 50s. And it felt really refreshing out there this morning. Since I work a night shift, I usually sleep a little bit later than my wife does. And when I got up this morning, she was like, Chris, we got to go outside and drink our coffee this morning because it feels so good. She had already walked the dog. And it did feel really nice and refreshing. I wasn't surprised. I knew it would. But it's mainly because not only that temperature, but also because the humidity levels have been a little lower with the drier air in place, and that just makes it feel a lot nicer out there. No rain in our area, of course, today, but take a look at this rainfall deficit. We're a little less than 3/4 of an inch below where we should be in rainfall for the year. Here's a look at temperatures at the 9 o'clock hour here on this Thursday night. We're in the mid-70s right now, but again, with that dry air and mainly clear skies, some areas are cooling off faster than others. It's 72 in Duluth. And in Peachtree City, also LaGrange and Carrollton, also in the right at 72. Thomaston 73. Athens a little milder at 75. So you see low to mid 70s here, and then some 60s up in parts of North Georgia. Tomorrow, it's going to be a pretty nice day. We're going to see temperatures in the morning starting off at about 61 degrees. There will be a few clouds in the morning. It's not going to be bright sunshine when you wake up or pure sunshine when you wake up tomorrow morning. There'll be some clouds mixing in there to start, and then those clouds break up later in the afternoon. And that's when we'll see those temperatures getting up to about 80 degrees here for tomorrow afternoon, which will be about 5 degrees lower than it was today. So still, yeah, just a little bit cooler here for your Friday. So let's look at the forecast track because I want to show you a couple of features that you'll want to know about. Tonight, you can see through the overnight hours, this model showing maybe a little raindrop or two over parts of North Georgia. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm really not concerned about it though. And in the morning, this model trying to kick up maybe an isolated shower. I really think most of us are going to stay dry. I'm not overly concerned about any of that. Same thing for at noon. And then during the day tomorrow, especially in the afternoon, that partly cloudy sky will turn mostly sunny with those temperatures there in the lower 80s, right at about 80 degrees. Then on Saturday, we have that northerly flow. Going to be a pretty nice day. Excuse me, I do think we'll have just a few more clouds mixing in with the sunshine during the day on Saturday. But as you can see here, those daytime hours are looking dry. And remember we talked about that level 1 risk over in west central Georgia. Well, that would be with this right there. You see that? Going through early on Sunday morning with a chance for a couple of isolated stronger storms. But again, I'm not really overly concerned about the severe threat with that either. Since it's overnight and early in the morning, we're hoping the air will be a little more stable there. And then going into the rest of the day on Sunday, we're just going to hold on to some lower rain chances. A couple of spotty showers could be popping up here and there. Now, speaking of moisture increasing in the atmosphere and the nice dry air that we had this morning that made it feel a little more refreshing, well, we're going to stay dry going through Friday, and then on Saturday and especially into Sunday and Monday. Look how the humidity levels are rising, the dew points are rising, meaning the moisture content in the air is coming up. And with that, that corresponds with the rain chances that we're going to be seeing here in our area. As that moisture content comes up, so will our rain chances. So we're going to see just that low rain chance Saturday at 20%, 30% on Sunday, 50% chance for showers on Monday and Tuesday. So those days, the rain chances will be a little bit higher. But even at that, we don't expect it to be a washout. So on Memorial Day, just be prepared. You may have to kind of dodge some showers here and there, but in between those showers, we expect to have some dry hours too. 82 for the high on Saturday, 87 on Sunday with that 30% chance for some of those scattered showers. And then on Monday, 50% chance for some of those scattered showers. I think most of those would be in the afternoon. Watching the morning temperatures, still feel comfortable Friday and Saturday. Then they start getting a little milder and a little more muggy in those mornings too, going into Monday and Tuesday. And then afternoon highs, you see that trend coming up to 87 by Sunday, then coming back down to 83 on Monday as well as on Tuesday. It'll be at about 82 degrees. So here is that 7-day outlook showing us where we have pretty nice conditions here on Friday. Just a few more clouds are going to be pushing into our area. Then on Saturday, again, a mix of sun and clouds, high temperatures up to about 82 degrees. Sunday does look warmer, getting up to 87. Still about a 30% chance for a shower. And then again, getting into Monday and Tuesday, the rain chances are higher, but that doesn't mean it's going to be raining all day. There's just going to be a better chance that you'll get hit by some of those scattered showers. A couple of thunderstorms are possible too. So if you're going to be out on some of the area lakes or anywhere outside, really be prepared and watch for any lightning that could be around. Holding on to the 50% chance on Tuesday, then down to a 30% chance on Wednesday and Thursday with high temperatures that will be in the lower 80s here going into the middle and end of next week too. If you're on YouTube right now, do us a favor, download the 11 Alive app, 11 Alive Plus app on your television. And if you enjoy seeing stuff like this on YouTube, we have a lot more weather content that we stream on our app there at 11 Alive Plus. And when you get to 11 Alive Plus, just navigate to the Weather Impact 24/7 there for all of that. So thank you for watching tonight. We love doing these extended updates for you right here on 11 Alive Plus.